Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Indigenous Success Strategy Kickoff in collaboration with Archipel Research and Consulting. Very happy to be talking with you today about what an Indigenous success strategy will look like, particularly in the context of Conestoga College and our Indigenous students. Very excited to be joining everyone today in these conversations, and we're here with Archipel as well. I'd like to welcome everybody, and we'll get the event started with a brief overview of our agenda. So first we'll start with an opening and some introductions from the Conestoga team as well as the Archipel team, as well as reviewing the purpose of the project and to learn more a bit about Archipel, Archipel's approach, the research process, as well as the implementation and the long-term strategy of our Indigenous success strategy here at Conestoga College. So in terms of an opening today, oh, Lois is here, that's great. I'd like to introduce our elder, Lois, who will be joining us to open our session today with some good words. I'll hand it over to you, Lois. I might just take a few moments for her to get settled in.
Yeah, of course.
Am I the only Lois here?
Yes.
Okay. I guess that's me then.
Hmm.
I don't have my my smudge going, but it's a surprise. But if it's words before all else, that's what we do in the beginning. And I can put those through as I did early this morning before the sun came up. It's a good thing when the sun comes up for everybody to do that, because it's one of the most powerful times of the day when everybody's listening, put it that way. And you will more than likely get your answers. So Dana Dana Gyote is photosios Skyfika Omado. Neoquio Ganto Soko Idis Sonko Ganohonyo. Ne always ask Cano Donohonyo. The said Donohonyo sent at once the 18 night Ganio to go. Did what I know on you. A dread so I know quatra. Nato Ganio to go. Did what I know on you or Niganus. Nato Ganio to go. Did what I know on you. Nato Ganio to go. Did what I know on you. O junta so Ajiko says Kuariko and Nato Ganio to go. Did what I know on you. Jidan so he go and Nato Ganio to go. Did what I know on you. What they had only a wata go and I need to be near to what you go on. Did what I know on your Seneca honey to Gison that what you go and I need to be near to what you go. Did what I know on your security Chinese June Hako, they took any on to what you go. Did what I know on your Demahandos, Cadino, go what you go and I need to any on to what you go. Did what I know on you. Setting a while when you need to get any what you go for. Did what I know when you're so I got any that it so the antinuclear need to get any what you go. They said when you're Seneca Haji Sunda shop, it so the antinuclear need to get any what you go. They said when you're Adi wano ni ke se tu so tienti no hunkwa ni to kani o to hunkwa ni go ha. Te dwara no hunyo adeka ka kwa e dwa chap tienti no hunkwa ni to kani o to hunkwa ni go ha. Te dwara deset wano hunyo keni hano hori o yakiono hori o kien yido. E ti so tienti no hunkwa ni to kani o to hunkwa ni go ha. Deset wano hunyo skaka kwane kanya dayo de wana mana baju te sau masau kanya dayo heti so tienti no hunkwan gani o to hunkwan go te tora no hunyo ha hoke ha ne ina gre so go di so nani to ka kwene ike I can ta ko no hunyo so those words before all else includes that we all stand side by side with all of the creation, not in front of, not behind. And that when those words are put through, you will feel that during your day, that you will be standing with all of them. And when I say all of them, we include the four-leggeds in the water life and everything from the earth to the sky beings, the thunders and the winds and the stars, the sun, the moon, all of the medicine plants and grasses and trees and whips and water life, water animals, winged ones, four-leggeds, I think I said, and all of our sustenance. And at the end, I like to include all those ones that have brought brought messages to us and the ways that we were given to follow. So some will go in a certain order, and I sometimes go in the order of the way that I remember the creation story happening. So I guess that's what's a little bit different about the way that we will do that. And yeah, so that's about it. Ranito, Nyawe.
Naomi Lewis. It's very exciting to hear our languages spoken even in the virtual hallways of our spaces at Conestoga. And to me, I'm so grateful, Lois, that you were able to join us and to start our session off with your good words. Because I think oftentimes we're moving so quickly in this world that we often forget a lot of times to say thank you to the small things like our water or the sun, and these sorts of things. And what happens when we start our days within these grounded ways, that even doing those small things can really add to the success, not only of our students, but of everybody. So again, so grateful, Lois, for you joining us today. Very excited to have you be a part of these conversations as well. So now with the team introductions, I'd like to first hand it to Trish Weigel Green, who is VP Students here at Conestoga College, to do a bit of an introduction.
By way of introduction, my name is Trish Weigel Green, and I have responsibility for student services at our college. And really, it's my goal to create an environment where our teams can do and be their best to help facilitate student success. So it's my honor as a part of this work to be alongside with Indigenous initiatives and services colleagues, so Danielle and Christina, where I've learned a lot over the years, and I'm particularly excited to, embark on a really big next phase of our journey together. I thought I'd just give the briefest of context as to how we got to this place where we are today, and looking to prepare a strategy for Conestoga. And so we identified that although there was a lot of great activity happening at the college, we didn't have a good handle on what all of that activity was, who was doing it, what the objectives were. how that might have aligned with our commitments, and how it might fit into an overall strategy for the college. And without a strategy, how would or could we clearly articulate our commitment? How could we plan and resource our initiatives properly and really ensure we're building towards a set of, let's say, common principles that could be integrated with an overall college strategy? So hence the concept of developing a strategy was initiated. I would say internally, there was also a need and a desire to bring in Indigenous leadership at our college, to engage across the college with academic areas, student services, and research. And when we met Danielle, it was clear that she was and is an individual whose knowledge, experiences, passions, I would say, could be pivotal in us building and growing Indigenous student success and initiatives at the college. So here we are today, and I'm very pleased to reintroduce Danielle Busneau, our Director of Indigenous Initiatives.
Thank you, Trish. By way of introduction, if I haven't had the opportunity to meet everybody on the call yet, my name is Danielle Busneau. I'm the Director of Indigenous Initiatives here at Conestoga College. I'm also Anishinaabe from Garden River First Nation, and I'm from the Old Turtle Clan. And by way of introduction, within our cultures and our communities, that's often how we introduce ourselves, is by noting our our kinship systems, our families, our territories. And these are really important ways for Indigenous people to connect with each other and then to be able to create community and then to represent ourselves out to the wider community. Having been at Conestoga College for a few months now, I'm really excited by the momentum and the possibility and everyone's excitement about moving towards a common goal and being Indigenous student success. Recently, the Truth and Reconciliation Calls to Action and the study itself has indicated the harms that have been done by the education system. So for me, I think that one of the most important aspects of this project is how are we making our educational institutions places of healing and places of generation, where, you know, not so much that we're trying to regenerate anything in the sense of what we're learning through the Western educational systems, but what are we generating together? How are we learning together? And then how are we creating a future that's guided and led by Indigenous people? I'm very excited to continue these conversations. And I'd like to introduce next Lindsay Golds, who's our project coordinator. I'm not sure Lindsay will come on, but very excited to be working with Lindsay as well as Christina, who's unable to join us today as she's not well, but she's definitely been an integral part of the Indigenous Services team at Conestoga College and keeping it together for a really long time. And I'm really grateful to work with Christina as well. And next I'll hand it to Archipel and we'll begin with Saber. Saber, pick two, please.
Hi everyone, happy afternoon. Quainin de Luisi Saber, Actalewe Upaganjik, Ak Walayok Niskum. Hi everybody, my name's Saber Pictou Lee, and I'm Mi'kmaq from a very small First Nation community in northeastern New Brunswick, where I'm joining you from today. I am the CEO and co-founder of Archipel, and a little bit about my background. Originally in art history. Before that was an athlete, had real no interest in school and just ended up in academia on a whim. But it worked out really well. So I did my undergrad in art history and I specialized in Indigenous art history. And then I pivoted into law, and I have a master's in Indigenous and Aboriginal studies, Canadian studies from Carleton. And then I have my law degree from Schulich or Dalhousie, and I specialize and practice law in Indigenous and Aboriginal law today. So that's a little bit about me. I don't think you'll be seeing too much of me throughout this project, but I'm really honored to work with Conestoga, and I just can feel such good intentions and a good path forward. And thank you so much, Elder Lewis. Hearing your opening prayer was a really nice reminder. I was in court all morning and I feel a little low energy today, and and it just felt like I was rushing from thing to thing, and it was just such a good reminder, like Danielle had said, to take a minute and ground ourselves and remember where we are in the greater ecosystem of life. So thanks so much for having me. I can't really hold a candlelight to my fantastic team. We'll be working closely with everyone here, and I'm really looking forward to hearing about the conversations and the wonderful work going forward. So I will hand it off to our research coordinator, Letisa.
Thank you, Saber. Hi, everyone. I'm joining today from what is colonially known as Toronto, the Dish with One Spoon territory, a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee. I studied sociology at TMU. I am of Afro-Caribbean descent and the second generation of my family to live on this land. My grandparents came here as immigrants from Barbados and refugees from Haiti. And as Saber said, I am the research coordinator with Archipel, and I'm really looking forward to working with the Conestoga team on this project. So I will pass it to Graham.
Make sure I'm unmuted this time. Bonjour kana wea kino and go na me do dem bene de wang shin week don jaba saka de win ne min wa ma chif and dao. So yeah, my government alias is Graham Parody. I'm a assistant researcher and facilitator with Archipel. I've been doing this for a few years now. Really happy to see some familiar faces here. Specifically Danielle. Like I said earlier, me and Danielle go way back. Also, it very interestingly found out just recently that my ancestors owned one of the river lots in Sault Ste. Marie back in the day, when it was all the half-breeds living along there. Turns out we were one of the owners before we sold it to a non-native guy and moved down to Penetang, which is where my family come from. So I'm a citizen of the Métis Nation. We come from Penetanguishene, and we also have ties to Lesser Slave Lake, Alberta, and the Red River settlement. So we come from a little bit of all over. We clearly had a stopover time in the Garden River territory. Today, I make my home on Bekeshonang unceded territory, also known as Walpole Island First Nation. That's where my partner and my son are from. So that's where I spend most of my time nowadays. Really excited to be a part of this project. Really excited considering like being kind of in the area. I know a lot of the cool stuff that Conestoga is doing. And yeah, just happy to be here. So miigwech.
And then
Do I have to pass it on to someone?
I'll go
Yeah,
up.
Janet.
Hi guys, I'm Janet. I do administrative support. I'm also going to be a facilitator. I recently joined Archipel. I worked in the healthcare system for a long time, but I'm so happy that I made the change. I am Algonquin from Golden Lake and also Italian descent. And yes, I'm just happy to be a part of this project, and it's nice to meet you all.
Thank you. I'm very excited. I'm getting more excited the more that we're moving through the presentation, because I think the group of people that we're working with, as well as Conestoga staff, employees, Indigenous students, staff and employees, are really going to benefit from this. And I'm really looking forward to what this is going to look like. The purpose of our project, we're going to develop a multi-year organizational plan that's going to enhance educational opportunities for Indigenous students to increase their access to success at Conestoga College. We'll be looking to develop initiatives and programs of education, outreach, and engagement to support Indigenous student success and to promote Indigenous education. And, you know, it's sort of what, going off of what Trish was saying at the beginning, and, you know, without a plan, it can get sideways sometimes. So the purpose of this is to really help to guide us and to provide a framework for what it would look like to implement this strategy, and, you know, who our partners are going to be, and identifying the good work that others are doing in the college as well, and to sort of bring it all together under one umbrella, to make our work more effective and to be able to streamline it so that we're getting the best results to our students.
So a little bit about Archipel. I like everyone to have a little bit of a full picture. We're an Indigenous owned and women-led organization. We're actually now one of the leading and largest Indigenous owned firms in North America. So we started specifically working in Canada with First Nation, Inuit, and Métis organizations and non-Indigenous organizations, really advocating and researching around Indigenous related issues. And we've been in operations for about 4.5 years now. And since our inception, we've now branched out and we do work internationally. Most recently, our team presented at the United Nations on funding discrepancies in Indigenous communities, and that was just in April. So we get to do really cool work every day, and I feel incredibly lucky and blessed to get to wake up and know that not only are we contributing back to our communities, but we're doing things in innovative and decolonial spaces. And for me, it was really important to create an organization where our team members could be supported and flourish, but also challenged. And we find really nuanced ways to explore First Nation, Inuit, and Métis perspectives and worldviews and knowledges within our work. We do acknowledge that Indigenous communities and our community members, as well as our elders and knowledge keepers, are really the experts in their lived experiences. And I think that's a big part of decolonizing research. Research has often been used as a very extractive tool in our communities that's been weaponized against us in dispossession and oppressive mechanisms. And so we're in the process of really taking back that power through recognizing how much knowledge is in our lived experiences and really giving voices to that. So that's a little bit about our team. We're a team of about 20 to 25 now. Both Janet, Graham, and I believe Letisa will be in person during the session, so you'll get a chance to meet them. And I'm going to try to stop by, but I'm definitely will be around virtually. Jump to the next slide there. So our approach to each research project is grounded in a number of Indigenous and intersectional methodologies, such as Etowaptamunk. And so a lot of people know that as two-eyed seeing. It tends to be a pretty popular term nowadays. It's a Mi'kmaq approach that recognizes we need to be looking at things with both eyes open, and one eye exists within this Western world and one eye exists within the Indigenous world. And when we recognize there's strength in both worlds, we can look at things together through both eyes, both lenses, and really walk forward in that good path. Intersectionality is another really core piece of our work, originates from a Black feminist theorist, but is really this idea that our experiences are layered and we have to give space and recognition to those layers. Like I am a First Nation woman, I am First Nation, but I'm also a woman. I'm also, 30, and those are all contribute to what intersectionality could look like. So we try to really recognize those spaces. We also engage in consensus decision making. And when I say that, that's something we engage in internally in our work. So we believe in getting together with the core group of experts and researchers and associates working on a project and try to figure out how to move forward in the best way. And oftentimes all of our projects include First Nation, Inuit, and Métis principles and aspects. So it's important to have a really diverse perspective and figure it out consensusly. Another core piece is we believe in honorariums. We believe in compensating our community members for their lived experience in exchange for that knowledge. We want to make sure we're engaging in reciprocity. And we also tailor Indigenous protocols to the territories that we're working on. The big piece that we do is we do data collection through the conversational method. And so this is an Indigenous methodology coined by Margaret Kovac. And it's this idea that when we are comfortable and we're conversing in a very natural way, the quality of the data is increased, the data is more authentic. And I like to give an example of, it's kind of a mitigation to white coat syndrome. I don't know if you've ever made a list of what you're going to go talk to your doctor about, and then you get in the room and they're like, well, how can we help you? And you're like, well, you just mentioned one thing off your list and then you leave and you're like, oh, damn, I had all of this other stuff I wanted to talk to them about. And so that's kind of the white coat syndrome. And so when we do a conversational method, it helps mitigate that because we take the time to ground ourselves, and we take the time to make sure everybody's comfortable and we can have a cup of tea and have a conversation. And that's an Indigenous methodology that we engage in. I think that's it. I hand it over back to Letisa.
Yeah. Thank you, Saber. So as Danielle said, we are here to support Conestoga in developing a multi-year organizational plan. And the main aim is just to support the enhancement of Indigenous students, their learning access and their success at Conestoga. So our approach to this is that we will have a series of 4 sharing circles rooted in the methodologies that Saber just spoke to. We are aiming to conduct these sessions in person during the 2nd week of October. So during these sharing circles, we hope to speak with Indigenous students, Indigenous staff and faculty, possibly some community and project partners, as well as executive leadership. And then we will also be co-developing a survey to ensure that we have the opportunity to hear from folks who may not be able to attend a sharing circle. Secondly, we will analyze and synthesize the data that we collect to be able to identify the themes and priorities that emerge out of the engagement process. Finally, we will be using that data to create a report which will assist in the creation of a strategic plan. Now I'll pass it back to Danielle to speak a little bit about the implementation.
So I'm really excited about the methodological approach that we're taking to these conversations, because I feel that when we're implementing these sorts of data that we're collecting, that Indigenous-led processes are core to the integrity and the authenticity of these conversations. And through this method, that we're going to actually be able to implement what it is that the students, community members, and Indigenous staff members are saying about what Indigenous success could look like at Conestoga College. What we have currently planned are, like what Letisa was saying, we're sharing circles in October and early November for virtual consultations. But after we receive the report back, we're going to be moving forward with a plan on how we're going to be implementing the suggestions, the report, the things that our Chappelle is presenting back to us as possibilities. And I do think that collaboration is one of the key aspects to how we're going to be implementing these strategies. So I'm really interested in what that looks like in terms of partnerships with different faculties, different departments. And throughout the college, Indigenous people are submersed within every aspect of the college. So there's always an opportunity for you to engage in terms of how are you also adding to Indigenous student success, whether it's through your faculty, through your position, through being support staff, or if you have someone that you've come across that you'd like to see them take part in this. Long term, we'd like to see an increased access to Bidab and Gamik, as well as further opportunities to participate through work study programs, as well as research projects and different volunteer opportunities. We host our powwow. And I'd really like to see it long term to be able to reflect what it is the students are saying. And a lot of the times what it really is for me is just to listen. And, you know, a lot of times I think because of the pace of our work, that we move so quickly that, you know, sometimes I feel what we're doing is, it's like my mom sort of says, is that there's a difference between hearing and listening. We can hear what people are saying, but are we actually listening and integrating the knowledge that they're sharing with us? So for me, the implementation of the results of this project are going to help to increase Indigenous student success and increase the retention rates that we have of Indigenous students. We know that Indigenous students face higher dropout rates than any other sort of demographic in the country. So how are we ensuring that that's not going to happen, or how are we ensuring that we're going to support the students through their academic journey here at Conestoga? So I'd like to open the floor to any questions or feedback that folks may have. Please feel free to raise your hand, or you can also pop a question in the chat if you're looking for more information or would like to add something to the conversation.
Is this one of the sharing circles?
This is not one of our sharing circles. But Lois, we do have you, we'll be inviting you to one of them.
I had a question that I probably should know the answer to, but where should people be watching for information about how they can get involved, how we'll be reaching out to engage with the community?
So we have currently being updated, our website's currently being updated. And I feel Lindsay might have the address of where that would be. So I'll ask her to pop that in the chat. I'm not.
So it's going to be posted on the Indigenous Initiatives web page, like the landing page. And we will be communicating directly to invitees as well as posting all employee or all student opportunities through the Monday message board, all things Conestoga. So if you keep an eye out on the Monday message board, just as you heard about this, you'll get information about if there's a survey or the engagement circles as well.
Well, as we get rolling with the project, I think that there will be plenty of opportunities for more engagement. If you'd like to reach out to me specifically, I'll be adding my email into the chat, and feel free to email me to ask any questions or to add any feedback to the conversation. I'm so grateful to be working with Archipel on this project. It's a really invigorating process to be hearing the types of conversations that we've been having during our session today. And, you know, when I say invigorating, like I mean it, like I feel that, you know, being on the precipice of important change can feel scary sometimes. But at the same time, that sort of feeling, I think, is almost like, to me, it seems a bit of like adrenaline, right? Where your body's preparing you for something new. And I think that the work that we're doing here is innovative in the sense of how we're upholding and uplifting Indigenous student voices, Indigenous staff and faculty at the college as well. So I'll see if there's any more questions, if anyone wanted to share or have any questions we had.
I'll also put the Archipel website and my email if anyone would like to get in touch with Archipel with further questions.
And I just want to thank Danielle and the entire team for putting on this presentation and bringing us all together. You've done a lot of work in even getting us this far, and I'm very much appreciated. So thank you very much to you and your team, Danielle.
Nice. Thank you, Lauren. And, sorry, go ahead, Lois.
Are there students in this group right now?
I don't think we had any students register.
Lois, I'll follow up with you to share the dates when we'll be working with the students and where we'll be doing the interviews as well. And I'll send that to you directly.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm so excited. Like I said earlier, if there's anyone who's looking to continue the conversation or you have ideas, I'm here and I'm happy to continue the conversation. I'm so grateful again to Archipel, to Saber and Letisa and Graham, to be able to join us on this call today. And Janet as well, of course, and a big thank you to our elder Lois for joining us and beginning our session with those good words, as well as Lindsay for helping us pull this all together, and to Trish for her support as well. And a big thank you to all of you for coming out. Curiosity, I feel, is one of the biggest factors in success. So when we're curious about things, it really helps us to advance our strategies. So thank you all once again. I'm really happy to see you all, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Thanks so much, everybody. It's great to see that such a great turnout.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.